Welcome to Lesson 5 for Blueprints for House Church Children. This week's core elements that you'll want to build the lesson around include the central truth, which is love and life are mightier than death. The memory verse is 1 Corinthians 13:8, love never fails. The scripture to study is John 11:1 through 45. And the Bible story is Jesus and Lazarus. The teaching tip for the week is to be creative with your storytelling. You don't have to use the flannel graphs and the flannel graph board every week. Be creative, spice it up, have some fun with it. This week we recommend the stories about Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. So we recommend even considering wrapping someone up in toilet paper and calling them forth from the dead. The Bible story for the week is Jesus and Lazarus. This comes from John 11:1 through 45, and it naturally ties in with the central truth that life and love are mightier than death because Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead.
This week's God's animal is the mighty bear, and you'll see some descriptions of the bear and some parallels with the central theme that life and love are mightier than death. This week's puppet skit, we see Darlin Duck having a conversation with the teacher about the story of Lazarus. And we see the teacher reminding Darlin Duck that life and love is mightier than death as they discuss the story of Lazarus. You'll want to use a puppet or a stuffed animal as your aid for the puppet skit. This week's story is called Heaven is a Happy Place, and it touches on the central theme that life and love are mightier than death, as Timmy talks about heaven with his mom after his favorite dog died. This week, the 2 and 3-year-olds will be doing a coloring and cutout of God's animal, the bear, and you may want to go ahead and cut that out for them ahead of time and then let them color it. For the 4 and 5-year-olds, we see the story of Lazarus, so they will be cutting out the tomb, little mummy Lazarus, and a little accordion thing, which then you use you'll go ahead and glue the tomb onto the construction paper and use the little accordion file to put Lazarus inside, so when you open the tomb door, he pops out.
For this week's Ready, Set, Go with God, we recommend using lesson number 1 from My Heart is a Bucket, which the title of this lesson is Bath Time. And you'll be using a few different props, such as some cleaner, to show the children that even when there are yucky things in their hearts, that God can cleanse them. You'll be using 1 John 1:9 to talk about how to cleanse your heart when you have yucky things in it. And this ties into the central truth that love and life are mightier than death, because even when we have sin in our lives, that Jesus can overcome that. This week's Bible story was about how Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. So for this week's Ready, Set, Go with others, we want you to take some time with the children to teach them how to pray for someone and raise them from the dead. We don't want this just to be a theory, a story from the past, but we actually want the children to gain confidence that they could raise somebody from the dead through prayer. For this week's review, you have 3 options. You can take some time to get some Play-Doh and let the children make tombs or stones and practice rolling them away from the tomb. And there's also review questions at the end of the lesson that you can go over with the children even as they're eating a snack or doing their craft. And there's also a coloring sheet of Jesus raising Lazarus. Also on the back you'll find a nice handy little sheet to send home with the children to take to their parents. And it reviews what they learned this week, so good reinforcement in the home.